Would you rather, and this may sum it up best, have a big talker and a no-doer, or a big doer and a big talker? I'll take the big talker and the big doer. So there's this interesting conversation, and I hear it come up around religious holidays, Christmas and Hanukkah being obviously religious holidays and religious celebrations. And this conversation comes up often, Joe. And it's this perpetual state of confusion by leftists and their media bootlicking allies about why religious and evangelical voters specifically, and this kind of came up in light of the horrendous Christianity Today op-ed saying we need to impeach Trump, which was an embarrassment to the magazine and really anyone who was associated with that dopey op-ed. But I heard the conversation on cable news and elsewhere, networks as well. You know, what is it about religious voters and their support for Trump? And the argument goes like this. This isn't me talking. This is the argument I've heard. I'm regurgitating it so I can put the fact-based case I'm about to make in context of what the argument is. The argument by the leftists and their media bubble dwellers goes, well, Trump's got this history of questionable behavior with women and elsewhere. I don't get it. You know, we think he lies a lot. This guy is not some saint, so why would people who claim to be religious support a man like this? That's the case they try to make. Folks, the answer is you're probably laughing that we're talking about this, but it's important because the answer is so patently obvious that the story isn't about, and I'm about to put forward, isn't about the answer to the question, because you already know the answer, Joe, and I know you do, and Paula does, and I know 90% of my listeners do. The story is more about how dumb and obtuse the media is because they can't figure this out despite how obvious the answer is. We have heard from Republican politicians, state, local, and federal level, at the presidency and elsewhere, for now, 50 years, Joe, how they're all about big R, God-given rights, defending the unborn, defending your constitutional right to protect yourself. We've heard all the speeches. They're always so great. Oh, they're going to get in office. We're going to clean up this. We're going to clean up government spending. We're going to clean up the regulatory regime. We're going to cut taxes. We've heard it all. Every speech in a book from a litany, a conga line of fake rhino phony frauds like Lisa Murkowski, who we'll get to in a minute too. We've heard the stories. We've heard the speeches. And what do, Joe? They get into office, not all of them, but a good amount of them, and they do diddly squat. Nothing.
Yes.
Well, we can't do anything against Planned Parenthood. I mean, there might be some backlash. The media won't like it. Well, abortion stuff, we talk about that abortion stuff, but you know what? That's not, I want to be accepted in the cocktail party circuit, and God forbid I say I'm pro-life. I'm not going to do that.
Government spending. Religion and politics.
Yeah, exactly. Government spending, too. I mean, we haven't been doing that well on that, to be fair, under the Trump administration either, so let's not pretend that. Right. But the regulatory reform, we can't dump regulations. The Democrats will accuse us of deregulation and unfettered capitalism. What do we get? We get nothing. The gun owners, we don't want to defend gun owners. I mean, we can say we do, but during campaign speeches, but God forbid we really do it. We've heard the speeches, and we got very little in return when it comes to real conservative values, defending life, the right to self-protection, other things that are considered gauche amongst the establishment Republican circles. We don't want to talk about life and guns. So now we get this guy, Donald Trump, who, by the way, has been candid and open about his past. Just watch the Howard Stern interviews. None of it's hidden, Joe. There's no secrets. He's not a liar about his past. His past has been out there. He's talked about it openly. But we get a guy who comes in there who actually works to defund Planned Parenthood, shows up at events evangelicals are at, speaks about the defense of religion and religious liberty, works on defunding portions of Obamacare that would have a deep impact upon unborn children. We have a massive deregulatory effort so that economic freedom can take hold. Whether you agree with it or not, I've not been a big fan of it, but you have this prison reform, which has given a second chance to a lot of minorities and non-minorities as well. A lot of white inmates too. It didn't just only impact minorities. Again, I didn't agree with it. But if you're a believer in forgiveness, that may be something you support. Again, I don't. I'm just suggesting to you that would you rather, and this may sum it up best, have a big talker and a no doer, or a big doer and a big talker. I'll take the big talker and the big doer. This is not hard to figure out. Listen, the anti-Trump crowd makes fun of this, but they shouldn't. And when I say this, I mean this. God picks flawed messengers. He always has. I mean, look at his original apostles. Peter would deny him 3 times. He was a rock of his church. Paul was attacking Christians. Paul, the centerpiece of the Christian movement going forward. Mary Magdalene with a checkered past. A tax collector in Matthew, one of the most reviled people of the time.
Yeah, they were a crew.
Yeah. He picked flawed messengers who came forward and evangelized the message. I'm not being overly dramatic. I'm not suggesting Donald Trump is one of the apostles. Don't be ridiculous. I'm not suggesting any of that. I'm not suggesting that there's some heavenly intervention all the time either. I'm simply suggesting that human beings are flawed people. I believe in God. God made us flawed people. None of us, there was only one perfect person, and it certainly isn't me or Donald Trump or anybody else. But that actions matter is the point. Not that he's one of the apostles or the chosen one of God. I don't believe, I don't need to make that jump. I'm simply suggesting flawed people can do great things. And the fact that the media doesn't understand that evangelicals and religious voters care about the preservation of life, care about economic freedom, education freedom, the ability to defend themselves and their family, and they're going to back someone who's getting results for them for the first time in a long time. The fact that you don't understand that speaks to your own ignorance. That is the story.
You just heard The Dan Bongino Show. You can also get Dan's podcasts on iTunes or SoundCloud, and follow Dan on Twitter 24/7 @DBongino.